BBC Radio Wales, I'm Dot Davis. Thank you very much for your company this morning. Now, the mother of a severely disabled 11-year-old boy is suing a theme park for failing to provide a changing places toilet for him. Now, these toilets require extra equipment and more space than a standard accessible toilet to allow severely disabled people to use the facility safely and comfortably. Flambards in Cornwall says it already has a disabled toilet with a hoist and a changing bench. But Adam's mum claims that Flambards has discriminated against her son and failed to make reasonable adjustments for him under the Equality Act. Can you relate to this story as a person with a disability or as a carer? Maybe you've heard this story this morning and just thought, you know what, that's me. What challenges do you face? Or maybe you're a business who's just struggling to provide disabled access and facilities. What are the hurdles you face in coming up to scratch in what's expected of you? Call me 03700 100 110 or text the show 81012. I'd love to hear from you this morning. Well, Rachel, Adam's mum, joins us now. Morning to you, Rachel.
Good morning.
Well, you're having a busy morning, no doubt, because I know that this story is one of the most read on the BBC website this morning. Let me take you back, Rachel, and can you explain to me why you decided to take this course, to pursue legal action against this theme park?
Yes. Firstly, it isn't something we have done lightly. It's not a spur-of-the-moment thing. We have been asking Flambards for almost 2 years. It is a place we used to go to all the time, and then we had to stop going because I just couldn't manage Adam's toileting needs any longer. For years, I have used the back of our vehicle with a commode chair and lifted him from his wheelchair to a camp bed, to the toilet, and then back again, and then trying to dispose of contents before we can enjoy our day. And that's as horrible as it sounds. But then it got worse when I could no longer do that. So we stopped going, and Adam kept asking me when he could go, and I took the easy way out and just made excuses. They're closed today, darling. But he's disabled. He's not stupid. And you do reach a point where you have to look at this and say, this can't go on. This is his entire future. This is the life of hundreds of thousands of disabled people. And nothing is changing because no one's taking it further. So we contacted a solicitor and we spoke to them about it, and they contacted Flambards, and I think we really had hoped that they would take it seriously then and look into what to do, but they didn't. And if anybody's seen the news piece today, they will have seen Richard Smith saying, we've got this mobile hoist. They actually only put that in very, very recently, bearing in mind it's been almost 2 years of asking. They put it in, or they hired those facilities without talking to us, without asking if they meet our needs, without checking. And actually, a mobile hoist takes an enormous floor space to use safely. And hoisting someone to the toilet with a mobile hoist is really, really difficult. If people haven't done it, it's really hard to imagine, because most people don't even know what a hoist looks like. But you are standing behind this very large piece of equipment with your person dangling semi-naked the other side of you, and you're trying to maneuver it and push it towards a toilet when there's not enough space. It's not very safe. It takes, well, I certainly can't do it. I have a back problem, as many carers do. So it doesn't suit our needs. It's not ideal. They've known about this for a very long time. And actually, it's a theme park. They have roller coasters. They have rides that do all sorts of things. They go upside down. I can't fathom why they are so against installing a toilet with a ceiling hoist and an adult-sized changing table.
Rachel, I mean, I can hear the challenges you must face on a daily basis. I've seen the photo of you with your lovely son, Adam, and I can hear that you haven't taken this decision lightly. But I have to put this to you, that Flambards say that it's going to cost them £40,000 to provide the facilities that Adam needs. What would you say to them? And they say that could come, there's a price attached to that. It could mean job losses.
I'm really intrigued as to where they've come up with that figure, actually. Portakabin provide a portable unit. They can literally drop it into place and plumb it in for under 30,000, and that's ready done. That could arrive. BF Adventure in Cornwall is a small charity. We spoke to them in March of this year. I let them know what was needed at the end of February. The CEO wanted to speak with me. 8th of March we met. We shared the information. He said, this needs to be done, but we don't have the money. By the 8th of April, they had the money. The ceiling hoist went in last week. The adult size changing table is going in next week because they knew they were treating disabled people less favourably by not having the right equipment. And they didn't want to do that.
How do you feel, Rachel? I mean, in terms of you taking this on as a family, because you've said it yourself. Adam has a disability, but he's not stupid. How does he feel about his mum basically taking legal action against a place he loves so much?
Adam is desperate to go to Flambards. He asked me 3 times yesterday if we could go there, and he's already asked once today. He thinks that whatever it takes is worth doing, and when we first told him about getting a solicitor, he thought it was a great idea because he just thought, they're going to listen to a solicitor. They're going to understand. Adam can't understand why anyone wouldn't want to include all people. And he's an annual pass holder. He should have the same ability to access their theme park as his brother does.
Rachel, do you think more needs to be done to enforce access and facilities for disabled people? And we're not just talking Flambards here, but everywhere.
Absolutely, yes. And we've stopped using public transport because you can never guarantee that you're going to be able to get on the bus. The last time we used a train, there was luggage piled high in the wheelchair area. It's awful when you are facing that. And actually, through social media, I've been in touch with a lot of adult wheelchair users, and it's staggering the amount of mental health problems that people have. And actually, when you think about it, if you spent your entire life not sure if you can get on the next bus, not sure if you're going to be able to use a toilet somewhere, not sure if you're going to be able to get into a shop, a store, a pub, a restaurant, that affects you. And we need to stop that from happening. We need to make life better for everybody because actually accessible facilities are ones we can all use.
Rachel, I need to read this statement for you because we have contacted Flambards and they've sent us this statement. Mrs. George and Adam, her son, have been visiting Flambards for several years, and we've been informed it is one of his favourite places to visit. As Adam has grown, his requirements regarding toilet facilities have changed, and Mrs. George brought this to our attention only recently. We have worked very closely with Cornwall Accessible Activities Programme in order to make adjustments which would be suitable not only for Adam, but for people with a wide range of disabilities. We've installed a fully adjustable changing bed and a hoist in a dedicated room in addition to disabled facilities. We have over 4,000 disabled and carers visit each year, and to date we have had only one complaint that we do not have a changing places toilet, and received much praise for the efforts we are making to help improve the visit for our disabled guests and their families and aim to make the park as fully inclusive as possible. Mrs. George, as representative of Adam, has instigated legal proceedings and a claim for financial compensation, so we are unable to comment further on this matter. It's only fair, Rachel, that I ask you to respond to what you've heard there.
Firstly, I don't consider June 2016 only recently asking. That is when we asked the first time. And actually, the email response that I had from them the very first time we asked states that we're not the first people to ask for these facilities. I would also make the point that whilst they say they haven't had other people complaining, that's because other people aren't going. They are missing out on users, families, visiting, spending the day and spending their money there because a lot of families won't go unless these facilities are in place. Would you go somewhere if they had no toilets at all that you could use?
Absolutely not. And
when they say they've done something, imagine if you took your daughter somewhere and they said, well, we've got urinals, we've done something. It's not okay. They should be meeting the needs of everyone. It is a theme park. They're not a small organisation. They own more than one theme park. It's a big business.
Rachel, thank you for speaking to us this morning. I know you're a very, very busy mum. That was Rachel, Adam's mum. What do you make of what you've heard there? Can you relate to that story, to what Rachel's been through and what she's fighting for her son? What challenges have you faced or do you still face in your day-to-day life? Hearing there, not being able to go on public transport, not being able to go places, is that something that you still face in your life as a disabled person or as a carer. I'd love to hear from you this morning. 03700 100 110. But lots of you reacting to my last guest, Rachel's really moving account of the challenges she faces in caring for her son Adam. They are suing a theme park for failing to provide a changing places toilet for him. I've had this in from Gareth. Morning to you, Gareth, who says, whilst I have sympathy and compassion for disabled people, I do think there has to be some common sense here. How can businesses be expected to pay out thousands of pounds, especially in these hard times? It seems to me those who make the rules have never been in business, and it's all well and good for them to say businesses have to spend all this money to conform to regulations. They'd certainly think differently if those thousands of pounds was coming out of their bank accounts. To put it simply, if businesses are forced to comply to these regulations, they'll close. Is that how you see it? 8, 10, 12. If you're a business owner, can you sympathise with this theme park? Let me bring in Laura, who is co-owner of the Pot restaurant in Cardiff. Morning to you, Laura.
Good morning.
Morning. We've had a mixed response to this morning, and actually quite a lot of sympathy for businesses. Can you tell me how easy or how difficult it's been for you to make your restaurant in Cardiff fully accessible?
It's been very difficult because we're such a small business and it's such an old building. It's been difficult to sort of create ease of access for disability. We've got at the front of we've had a new shop front put in front of the restaurant so that there is disabled access. However, the toilet is at the back of the restaurant, so obviously because there's only so many covers in the restaurant, it is very, very difficult to sort of be able to have access through to the back of the restaurant into the disabled toilets as well. So yeah, it's been very difficult.
Do you feel limited as to what you can do? I mean, would you like to make more changes?
Yeah, well, we'd love to be able to, but unfortunately, I mean, we've already had to pay out money to get the shop front put in, and then unfortunately, we have access to a fold-up ramp. So when people do call up and book and then they mention that they need disabled access, then we sort that out for them. But unfortunately, everything costs money, and to be able to get disabled access fitted properly into the restaurant would cost us an absolute fortune, and being a small business, we're not made of money.
Well, what do you think, Laura, is reasonable? What do you think is reasonable for a small business like you to do? What can you do in terms of access for disabled people?
Well, what we are doing really at the moment, I mean, we know that there's sort of disabled forums online and people leave reviews and leave comments, and we're on one of them saying that we do have disabled access, but it is limited. As long as when people call up to book and they mention that they need disabled access, then all we really can do is give them a table with ease of access to get to and get a disabled ramp so that they can get into the restaurant. And obviously all of the members of staff will always help out as much as they can to sort of get them, if they need help getting into the toilet or in or out of the restaurant. But there's apart from that, there's not really that much more that we can do.
Do you think there's a difference between you as a business, a restaurant in Cardiff, and this theme park we're talking about here? I mean, what do you make of this story? Do you think this theme park are providing reasonable facilities, or should they, as a theme park, be doing more? Because families go there for the entire day. It's not popping in for a meal for an hour and a half, is it?
No, I think they should have to do more. That is understandable. And just because you do have a disability, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to enjoy the things that everyone else wants to do as well. I do think it is different for a small business because we can't afford, unfortunately, to do probably things that a bigger business would be able to do. So it is really difficult, but I think we are doing everything that we can to make it easier, but we're just very limited.
Laura, my thanks for your time this morning. Busy there getting ready for the lunchtime trade, no doubt, at the Pot restaurant in Cardiff. Well, what do you think of what you've heard this morning? Where do your sympathies lie with Mum, Rachel, and son Adam, who just can't visit his favourite theme park? Or do you sympathise with businesses and the money it costs to make their premises, their business fully accessible? I've had this text in from Pauline. Morning, Pauline, who says, oh dear, how often does this mother and her son visit the theme park? Once a week, once a month, or once a year? These people whose jobs are at risk work there on a regular basis. Yes, bring this lack of disabled facilities to the attention of the theme park, but why want to sue them? It's all about money. Well, I think Rachel would refute that. It's all about her son's love for this theme park and the fact that she just cannot take him there anymore. What do you think is reasonable to ask this theme park to do? Call me 03700 100 110. And what challenges do you face in your life? 81012 on the text. You're listening to BBC Radio Wales. I'm Dot Davis, and if you've been listening this morning, you will have heard me speaking to Rachel, a mum of a severely disabled 11-year-old boy, and Rachel is suing a theme park in Cornwall for failing to provide a suitable toilet for her son. Her son Adam just loves this theme park and they just can't visit, so they are suing. I've been asking if you can relate to this story, if you think it's a really brave move by Rachel taking this on. Goodness knows she's got enough on her hands already. What challenges have you faced if you're a person with a disability, or maybe you're a carer? Love to hear from you this morning. Call me 03700 100 110. Jane has done just that. Jane is in Pembrokeshire. Morning to you, Jane.
Morning.
And you've heard what Rachel had to say this morning, and I guess you can relate to what you heard?
Yes, I can relate to what Rachel's talking about with Flambard. My little one's 6 and he's doubly incontinent, and he's got severe global development delay, autistic traits, and he finds the noise in public toilets very sensory. It makes him have a meltdown. He gets very agitated, starts screaming, tries to cover his ears. So to take him into any form of public toilet, whether it's a disabled one or just a normal toilet, just sends him into meltdown. So we've actually bought a camper van so that I can change him comfortably and he's not stressed out. The only problem with that is he doesn't have a blue badge. So if we're visiting an attraction and we've had to park miles away in the car park, he thinks we're going home.
Oh, Jane, that's horrendous, because I can only imagine what it's like. I mean, I've never tried to drag my children away from a theme park in the middle of the day. I can only imagine what that's like for you.
Yeah, it can be quite distressing because he thinks he's going home, so he has a meltdown because he thinks he's going home. But at one of our local attractions, the Dinosaur Park, he likes to go there, and I've contacted them about having just a quiet room that I could take him to change. And they said that they don't have the space or the facilities to do that. But whenever I visit, to email in advance, and they'll set somewhere aside for me.
So do you think that's fair enough? No, do you, Jane? Because that's really interesting. Because would you do what Rachel's done then on this theme park in Cornwall, Flambard? And she says, no, it's absolutely not good enough, and you need to provide for my son, and I am taking you to court for it. What do you make of that?
Well, in my case, his issues are peculiar to him. He hasn't got a physical disability, so it's not about the equipment or what he would need to go to use the bathroom there. It's a sensory thing, and a lot of children with autistic traits suffer with that. So you could argue that maybe there should be somewhere, because there are so many children that have this sensory issue, or that he's one in I don't know how many million, and do they need to cater for just him? It doesn't detract from the nice time that we have there, because they've said that they will. I mean, we haven't visited this year yet, but they have said that they will set aside a room for me if I need it. So I think that's quite fair.
I mean, the fact that we're talking about it, I mean, are things improving generally, do you think? I mean, I spoke to Laura earlier, who was telling me about their business in Cardiff and how hard it is to provide disabled facilities. They're in a very small building. It's really hard to get it. The toilets at the back, they're doing as much as they can. How much do you sympathise with buildings? Are things improving with businesses?
I think it's, I sympathise with the businesses, because a lot of these businesses have been around for such a long time, and the All Ability Access Act is fairly recent, really. The changing of the measurements of the doorways to allow wheelchairs, etc. That's quite a major structural thing for people to have to do to their businesses, and not everybody can afford to do that. And it's just such a shame, because that means the disabled people aren't being able to get in and use the facilities. But, it's one of those catch-22 situations. If it's a new business, they can already put those laws and regulations for sizes and the all ability access into place. But to restructure an already existing business, I would imagine, could be quite expensive.
Jane, thank you so much for your call this morning. I know I've got Sue waiting on the line as well. Jane, thank you for taking time to call us this morning, and enjoy that dinosaur park. It's brilliant, I've been there. Sue's in Ynysthea near Newport. Morning to you, Sue.
Morning, Dot.
Your son is actually disabled and is permanently in a wheelchair. How old is your son?
He's now 42. He was in a car accident in the year 2000, and he became a disabled person then.
And you're his carer, Sue?
Yes, yeah. I'm his mum and his carer, yeah.
What's life like for you?
Tough, but the only thing David can't do is walk. That's the way we put it. He goes to work. He works for a company in Caerphilly, and they are excellent. They have a lift up to the first floor for him. There's disabled toilets there. It's brilliant. I sympathise with the lady in Cardiff in the pot because, in my opinion, all old buildings, they should only be able to do the minimum, which is put the ramp in. I know it's awkward to get to the toilet, but I think, personally, my opinion is that all new builds or properties that have been renovated, are being renovated for business purposes, should then have all the disabled access.
What about theme parks, Sue? I mean, this company, this Flambard in Cornwall, they're saying it's going to cost us £40,000 to have what you want, to this mum, to have this changing facilities there. It's just too much, and it would cost jobs. What would you say? Is that different? I get what you're saying about buildings and about old buildings and old businesses. What about these big businesses?
I think if there's a theme park, that they should implement the changing facilities and the bathroom. They should do that, because I know they threaten his jobs, but they'll soon make that money back anyway. And surely, I'm not sure about the English law, but whether they could get a grant for it, I don't know.
Sue, have things improved for your son, in terms of access over recent years? Are you seeing an improvement?
Not really. No. I think the concept of people think that when it's a disabled person, they think that they can walk, and that's businesses, and in my opinion, that's businesses and people in everyday life. They don't realise that a lot of people are in a wheelchair that cannot walk. It's just, and personally, before my son became disabled, I thought I knew a lot about disability, but you don't. So really, it's, how can I put it? It's difficult for people to understand the extent of a disability.
Sue,
do you understand what I mean?
I totally understand what you're saying, Sue. I really appreciate how difficult it is sharing that story with us on BBC Radio Wales this morning as well. Thank you so much for calling in, and my thanks to Jane as well. I want to bring in now Steffan, who's the owner of the Pen Ceunant Tea Rooms on Mount Snowdon. Bore da.
Bore da.
Morning, Steffan. Well, funnily enough, and I'm not sure I expected this, there is a lot of sympathy out there for businesses. You heard Sue in Ynysthea, Jane phoned in Pembrokeshire as well. They do sympathise with businesses, despite being carers for people with disabilities, for children with disabilities. How difficult do you find, as the owner of these tea rooms, providing access and facilities for disabled people?
Well, first of all, we had a severely disabled mother for 50 years, so we were well adjusted to it. But the first lady on the phone did, my parents go to Scotland on holidays, and the hotel was advertising wrong on disability. But the answer was we bought them a mobile home, and they'd been going there for 30 years to the same hotel. They would park outside. The hotel would adjust to it. But, where do you draw the line? I do sympathise with all this. But, the other day a lady walked in here with allergies. I had to find a room with no carpet, no curtains, and a slate floor. We have got a wet room here, and we do cater for the severely disabled because of my mother. We have the amputees here, we have the blind veterans here, and people do phone, and we do our best to adjust.
So Stefan, talk me through it. What facilities do you provide? And I mean, is it a bigger challenge? Because you're on top of a mountain, for starters.
Well, I'm on a mountain. The road is tarmac. There's no potholes in it. We do have a lot of rugby injuries that come here for day out, and in special adapted wheelchairs and vans. But we have a special room for them to be independent and to wash themselves. But how far do you draw the line? You'll get a woman coming in here in the summer shouting, "Oh, I need the toilet. Emergency! I'm disabled. I'm pregnant." Well, where do you draw the line?
What point does the money become an issue then? And
the money's okay, but where do you draw the line? Because this lad in Cornwall, I've been briefed on it, which is quite sad. But basically, they should get a nice mobile home and get special license to go into the park, and I'm sure they would agree to this. But, if you give in to this, I mean, where are you going to draw the line?
It's interesting you say that because Rachel, I'm sure, would say, why should we have to buy a mobile home for our son? Shouldn't our son, who loves the theme park, be allowed access, just like everybody else?
We did it for my parents. You just have to do it. Okay, if they would have done a severely disabled for my parents, my God, if you saw my mother, you'd say, oh, where's she going today? Because she was severely disabled. We had to feed her and everything. But as a family, we coped, and we just, this hotel in Scotland, yes, I did flip in the beginning with them, I think 25 years ago, because they'd misled my parents in going on holiday, which we were looking forward to, and we were paying. But no, we just bought a mobile home and just go for it. Why should the government help for that? Because where do you draw, do I have to have a special room now for people with allergies? I do have a special room here, and trust me, it's an amazing room for severely disabled people to enjoy the mountain. And actually, there's a room here where you can take a tricycle in as well. So, the rooms are extra. And there's a restroom here for disabled people. But where do you draw the line? And this theme park, yes, fair enough. But what they should do is, why should they spend £40,000? That's starting with something else. How many disabled people are there? And what do you call disability?
Stefan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us on BBC Radio Wales this morning. Where does it stop? That's the question Stefan has asked this morning. Owner of the Pencaenan Tea Rooms in Mount Snowdon. Keep your messages coming in. Keep texting 8 10 12. Well, earlier on we were talking to a mum of a severely disabled 11-year-old boy who's decided to sue a theme park in Cornwall for failing to provide a changing places toilet for him. Lots of you getting in touch on this, but I want to go straight to the phones because Gareth's on the line in Llangennech. Hello, Gareth.
Hello, Dad.
Tell me your story.
Yeah, my son, he's 37 years old now, and we've had to give up taking him on holidays because we just can't get any toilet facilities. We used to go to Butlins, we couldn't get bed cards to suit him. At home, he goes on a toilet chair at home. They got nothing like that there. We used to go to Blackpool, there was no facilities to toilet him at Blackpool. If we did take him when the children were small, my daughter's 5 years younger, we'd have to go in disabled toilets, hold him up because he's doubly incontinent. My wife tried to change his pad. Well, my daughter stood there with us trying to help, It's just hard when you got disabled children. People don't realise.
So, Gareth, you just don't go on holidays then?
No, well, we may go now. Well, it's our 40th wedding anniversary this year. We're going for 4 days up to Celtic Manor as a treat. We've done the same on my 60th and my wife's 60th birthday. Other than that, we don't go anywhere. We've had to give up on it.
Gareth, what do you say? What do you say then? Because Rachel is determined she's going to fight this, and because shouldn't your son, shouldn't her son, shouldn't you all be able to enjoy a holiday or go to a theme park like everybody else, Gareth?
I agree with the fighting, but I don't like the compensation part of it, to be honest. I don't like the money coming into it. What she says is she's spot on. We should all be allowed to go have a holiday. That's your right, isn't it? But it's just so hard, As I say, people don't understand until you've got a disabled child. You take so much for granted. And that's it then. Like I say, we've given up on a lot of things now. We can't go to families' houses as much as we used to because we can't get his wheelchair into the houses. you go shopping, people will move out of the way of a wheelchair. You know, it's not just the toilet; it's everything to do with a disabled child.
Well, Gareth, if anybody deserves a lovely break soon, it's you. Gareth, have a great time when you go to Celtic Manor, won't you? You surely deserve it. Thank you so much for calling this morning. I just got to read this very quickly. A tweet from Chris Elmore, Labour MP for Ogmore, who's tweeted the programme, who says, I've been working with the government and families to deliver more correct changing places. Much more needs to be done to secure these vital improvements.